So do you guys remember when I made that Professor Layton review? It sucked. It had terrible editing, terrible voiceovers, and terrible production value. While most of those things already probably turned away most viewers, if anyone actually stuck around after that, they would probably be turned away by literally everything else. See, back when I made that review, well, I wasn't completely new to the series. It wasn't the first time I really got into it. Due to this, I became pretty damn fanboyish about the series and spoke overly positive about it. And this can be seen in my review, where all I did was talk about how great it was and made excuses for many of the flaws it had. But then, what surprised me the most was that many fans were themselves not mentioning a lot of flaws that I think the game has. So, I just want you to all know that I don't think Professor Layton is a bad series. I do, however, think it is a series that could be a lot better. In this video, I'm only going to be talking about the first 4 games, as those are the only ones I'm fully completed. And for those who want to know, I'm midway through Miracle Mask. Now, gameplay is the section which this game gets most correct. So I'll probably sound a bit nitpicky here, but there are still some problems that I think need to be addressed. Now, there are only 3 complaints that I have with the gameplay. First is the lack of a consistent theme. Professor Layton's puzzles don't really have any real theme to them, and are more just like puzzle you'd find in some random puzzle book, with very few exceptions and of puzzles with connections. This is where I would like to compare the series to another series that is about solving crimes and puzzle solving, Ace Attorney, which is my favorite game franchise of all time. Now, Ace Attorney's puzzles always have a clear focus on finding contradictions and coming to conclusions by connecting the dots. This is mostly shown through the cross-examinations the series is best known for, but even the gimmicks, logical Damagatama, fit under this type of puzzle. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this such a big deal? Well, it's simple. Professor Layton has many puzzles that look similar, but are structured completely differently. For example, Puzzle 8 in the Curious Village is as follows. Alfred and Roland have been hired by a farm to sow flower seeds. They have been assigned a 10-acre plot of land and split it in half so they can work independently. Roland starts from the east and Alfred starts from the west. Alfred can plow the land at a rate of 20 minutes per acre. Roland takes 40 minutes to plow, but sows seeds at 3 times the speed Alfred does. If sowing seeds on the 10-acre plot pays $100, how much of that money should go to Roland? The trick in this puzzle is that since both of them work independently, they would be paid the same, so half of $100, which is $50. This is an example of a good trick question. Then there's puzzle 13, which reads, SOS, 15 people are trapped aboard a ship that's going to sink in exactly 20 minutes. Their only chance of survival is the 5-person life raft stowed on their vessel. To make matters worse, the waters around the ship are teeming with man-eating sharks, so swimming to safety is out of the question. A round trip to the nearest island and back to the boat takes 9 minutes on the raft. How many people will live to see dry land? This puzzle, however, has no trick. You just do the maths and figure out that the answer is 13. This is a good example of a more direct puzzle. Then there's puzzle 15. 10 candles stand burning in a dining room. A strong breeze blows in through an open window and extinguishes 2 of them. Checking back in on the candles later, you see that 1 more candle has gone out. You shut the window. Assuming the wind doesn't extinguish any more candles, how many candles do you have left in the end? This one doesn't work as well due to the inconsistency with the puzzles. Is it a straight-forward puzzle like 13? In that case, it would be 7. Or maybe it's a trick question like 8. In that case, might be 10 because of all of them remain. When there's too many puzzle styles, it can be confusing as to what the puzzle is even asking, which just feels arbitrary at that point. Puzzle 15 represents another problem with the puzzles in Professor Layton, and that's not giving enough information. Now hear me out. In Puzzle 15, for example, we're not told the duration of time between him closing the window and the time period we're supposed to be looking at. We're also not told when the candles were lit. That means that guessing that the candles must have melted can honestly just come down to guesswork, which is very, very stupid for a puzzle. My final problem with the puzzles is that they're just too disconnected from the story. They just come out of nowhere and have you do the most random of things. With the way the game is designed, the gameplay and story are more like distractions from one another rather than complements. This is where I bring up a comparison to Ace Attorney. Again, Ace Attorney is also a video game with puzzles and mysteries, but unlike Layton, both of these elements are actually relevant to each other in a way that I can't quite describe. All I can say is that it makes the Ace Attorney experience far more immersive than Layton, since never are you taken out of one of those elements to focus on the other. One of the best things about the Professor Layton games is their ability to be able to intrigue the player all the way to the end with the little clues that the game at first surrounds with mystery. So you know where the game falls apart, actually having a good payoff. The first game probably had the best mystery, since it wasn't too far-fetched and had a good amount of clues that were given so that the mystery was fair and intriguing. Then comes Pandora's Box, when it turns out that the box makes you hallucinate, because why not, and there's so many plot holes. How can hallucinating make someone die? Why would anyone else see it as such? Did neither Layton nor Luke have some sort of feeling of death when they opened the box? And I could just go on. But really, some of these plot holes confuse me up to the point where I don't know if I can actually complain about them. But then there's The Lost Future, where Dimitri was somehow able to dig underground and make a full city there and kidnap many people to become part of the society. How did no one find this out? Like seriously, how could such a mass-scale plan just go under the radar? Furthermore, how did the people inside not realize? Did none of them try traveling to places outside of London? But okay, let's just move along. Layton then discovers that future Luke is actually Clive and that his parents died due to an experiment and that he has a plan of mass destruction. What? A core part of mystery stories is that you're supposed to be given clues that help you solve the mystery before it's revealed, so that maybe you could piece it together yourself. However, all this information is practically just came out of Layton's ass, with the only clue being given is that there's a second project, which we're also not given any clues of what the nature of it is. Inspector's Call, however, deals with even more problems. In this story, the mystery is that there's a spectre at night that Layton has to find the identity of. The answer to this mystery is because Layton was able to get a good look at the spectre that we never saw. He saw that the spectre was actually some weird monster thing and robot fighting. He then randomly finds out that the weird monster thing was actually a pet of Ariana, and that it was trying to stop the robot thing from finding the golden god. What? Again, all done based on information we never saw. But it's even worse this time due to just how anticlimactic it is. Like, am I the only one who finds it a very uncreative and boring answer for such a interesting mystery, especially for Professor Layton? Probably. Now, the characters in Professor Layton are very hit and miss. Luke Triton, I would probably consider one of the most developed characters in the game. Has his own personality, which strengths and weakness, and he can also come off as quite relatable to the audience, which is good. Flora, however, is a pretty bland, happy-go-lucky type personality, and she doesn't really contribute anything to the plot other than getting kidnapped a bunch of times. Emmy is also a decent assistant character, but I can't exactly say anything about it, since I haven't finished Miracle Mask or Arson Legacy, so we'll have to wait for my opinion on that. Then going on to the villains, Don Paolo is probably one of the most cliched villains ever, and he isn't funny or entertaining. He's just annoying and I don't like him. Anton, on the other hand, I actually felt quite sympathetic for. I actually did feel quite sorry for him and thought his and his wife's story was quite well done. Dimitri is another good tragic villain. Clive, on the other hand, I really don't get. Clive is often seen as some great tragic villain, but I found it stupid. I understand that losing your parents at a young age is a big deal, a very big deal, but this kid actually wants to destroy all of London because of it. Like what? And worst of all, I still can't believe that he achieved it. No, seriously, how is Clive able to convince Dimitri to trust him and then entrust the scientists with handling the second project? Like, why would they even want to? That about does it for the villain, since I can't comment on Descalay, since it's clear that he's meant to be a mysterious character we learn more about later on. I can, however, say that Inspector Skull is pretty boring with no real personality other than being cool and the bad guy. I feel like I'm missing someone very important. Professor Layton is by far one of the worst things about the series, and I hate him. Like, out of everything you could mess up, why the main character? And I know a lot of you are wondering what's wrong with Professor Layton. Well, first of all, he has very little depth in his personality. Nearly everything he just says is either about solving puzzles or being a gentleman, which seems to be like his only personality traits. He doesn't show any unique characteristics when it comes to his actions, and his dialogue never leads to humor. Never. But the worst problem is that Layton is a Gary Stu. For those who don't know, Gary Stu is the male equivalent of the term Mary Sue. Both of these terms are used to describe characters that lack flaws and can be considered too good. Professor Layton isn't just a Gary Stu for being good at things, but also the amount of things he is good at. He's really good at solving puzzles, really good at being a detective, good at archaeology, can play the piano, can do fencing, can basically drive any vehicle, is really good at staying calm, and is also a gentleman. This is just stupid. How does he do all these things? It just makes him unrealistic as a character, and he's just not relatable or believable. It also completely ruins the suspense of the story most of the time, because since Professor Layton is so perfect, the audience will never feel as if he is in any danger. Why should they? Look, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to hate on Professor Layton, nor do I hate the series, but I do think that it has a lot of flaws that don't seem to get addressed, although do take into account that I haven't finished the series, so then certain things may have been improved in later games. At the end of the day, though, I just hope that you, and maybe even level 5, can take something out of this video, whether you agree or not. I know what I'm saying isn't exactly popular, so I'm interested in getting a conversation started. Hope you have a classy day in life.